They loved each other in every lifetime. The blade was already moving toward her throat when Marcus saw the recognition flash in her eyes. Not fear, recognition. She knew him. Even as the executioner raised his sword in the Roman Colosseum, even as 50,000 voices screamed for blood, Lyra looked at him with those same green eyes that had haunted his dreams since childhood and smiled. "I found you," she whispered. Then everything went white. Marcus jerked awake in his college dorm room, sweat soaking through his sheets. His roommate was snoring across the room. The dream was fading, but that face, those eyes, remained burned into his memory like they always did. He'd been having these dreams his entire life. Different places, different times, but always the same woman. Always the same ending. He grabbed his phone. 3:47 a.m. Another email from his psychology professor about his thesis on reincarnation and collective memory. Marcus had spent 3 years researching past life regression, déjà vu, and the scientific explanations for why some people claim to remember previous lives. The academic world thought he was chasing ghosts. His parents thought he needed therapy. But Marcus knew something they didn't. The dreams were getting stronger. And they were starting to happen when he was awake. 2 days later, Marcus walked into his favorite coffee shop near campus and saw her. She was standing at the counter, ordering something complicated with extra foam, and when she turned around their eyes met and the entire world seemed to tilt sideways. The coffee shop melted away and suddenly they were standing in a medieval marketplace, her hand in his, running from men with torches. Then they were in a 1940s train station, his arms around her as bombs fell in the distance. Then they were back in the coffee shop and she was staring at him with the same shocked expression he knew was on his own face. "You," she breathed. Marcus couldn't speak. His hands were shaking. This wasn't a dream. This was real. She walked toward him slowly, carefully, like he might vanish if she moved too fast. "I've been looking for you for 23 years, she said. "Since I was old enough to understand that the dreams weren't just dreams." "Lyra," Marcus said, though he didn't know how he knew her name. "Elara, actually," she corrected with a sad smile. "But you've called me Lyra before. In Rome. When we died together." The coffee cup slipped from Marcus's hand and shattered on the floor. If you're already hooked by this impossible connection, hit that subscribe button now because this story is about to take you through lifetimes of love, loss, and a mystery that spans centuries. And make sure you stay until the end, you won't believe how this unfolds. They sat in Marcus's car in the parking lot for 3 hours, comparing notes. Elara had filled 17 journals with memories from dreams and visions. She'd seen them as Egyptian lovers separated by war, as Renaissance artists who died in the same plague, as World War I soldiers who'd promised to find each other again. Marcus had his own collection, hundreds of sketches of her face, detailed descriptions of places he'd never been, languages he shouldn't know but somehow did. "I've been tracking the pattern," Elara said, pulling out her phone to show him a spreadsheet. "We meet, we fall in love, and we die. Sometimes within days. Sometimes we get years. But it always ends the same way. Tragically," Marcus finished. "Violently, usually. Separated at best." She looked at him with those ancient eyes. "I found records. Historical records. In 1847, there was a Marcus Thorne and an Elara Whitmore who died in a fire in Boston. In 1692, a Marcus Red was executed for witchcraft in Salem, and an Elara Parrish disappeared the same week. I found 7 documented cases where people with our names died within days of each other." Marcus felt cold. "That's impossible." "Is it? You're sitting here with me. You knew my name before I told you. We both remember dying together in the Colosseum." Elara leaned closer. "Marcus, I think we're cursed. I think something is making us find each other over and over just to tear us apart. Or maybe we're blessed," Marcus said. "Maybe we love each other so much that not even death can keep us apart. Then why does it always end?" Her voice broke. "Why can't we ever just be happy? They stared at each other in the dim car, and Marcus felt the weight of 1,000 lifetimes pressing down on him. He reached out slowly and took her hand. The touch sent electricity through his entire body, familiar and new at the same time. "Maybe this time is different," he said. "Maybe this time we can break the pattern." Elara squeezed his hand. "We have to try. I can't lose you again. I can't watch you die again. Then we figure out what's causing this. We research it. We find answers." Marcus felt determination building in his chest. "I'm a psychology student." What are you studying?" "Ancient history and archaeology," Elara said. "I've been obsessed with past civilizations since I was a kid. Trying to find proof of us." "Perfect. We approach this scientifically. Document everything. Find the connection." He pulled out his laptop from the back seat. "Let's start with our earliest memory. What's the first lifetime you remember?" Elara closed her eyes. "Egypt. The Old Kingdom. I was a priestess. You were a soldier. We met at the Temple of Hathor during a festival and..." She trailed off, tears streaming down her face. "They executed you for defiling sacred grounds. For touching me. I threw myself into the Nile the same night." Marcus was typing rapidly, his academic brain taking over to keep the emotion at bay. "Okay. So approximately 2500 BCE. That's our starting point. Then Roman, what year?" 62 CE. Nero's reign. We were both slaves who fell in love. They made us fight in the arena." Her voice was hollow. "You tried to protect me. The lions got us both." They went through each lifetime methodically. Medieval France, 1347, both victims of the Black Death. Tudor England, 1536, caught in the wrong political faction and beheaded. Edo Japan, 1704, star-crossed lovers from feuding families. Revolutionary America, 1776, killed in battle on opposite sides. Victorian London, 1888, murdered by someone who was never caught. The Titanic, 1912, drowned together. World War II, 1944, separated in the Holocaust. With each memory, the pattern became clearer and more horrifying. "We have approximately 50 years between each rebirth," Marcus said, looking at his timeline. "And we always find each other between the ages of 20 and 25. Then we have anywhere from 3 days to 7 years before we die." "We're 23 now," Elara said quietly. "We just met. That means we probably have about 5 years if the pattern holds." Marcus saved the document and looked at her. 5 years to figure this out and stop it. Or 5 years to actually live before it ends again. They sat in heavy silence until Marcus said, "I vote we do both. Live like we're dying, but fight like hell to survive." Elara laughed, a broken sound that turned into a sob. "God, I've missed you. Even though I just met you. I've been missing you my whole life." "I know," Marcus whispered. "Me too." They started dating, though that word felt absurdly inadequate for what they were. Every moment together felt like coming home and saying goodbye at the same time. Marcus found himself memorizing everything about her, the way she tucked her hair behind her left ear when she was thinking, how she always ordered her coffee too hot, the small scar on her right wrist from a childhood accident that made him flinch with recognition because he'd seen it in every lifetime. Comment below if you believe in soulmates, because what Marcus and Elara are experiencing goes beyond anything we understand about love and destiny. They threw themselves into research. Elara gained access to restricted archives through her archaeology program, searching for any historical documentation of reincarnation cycles or soul bonds. Marcus dove into psychology journals, past life regression case studies, and even fringe science about consciousness and quantum entanglement. 3 weeks after they met, Marcus woke up screaming. Elara was there instantly. She'd started staying over most nights, holding him as he shook. "What did you see?" "A new memory." Or maybe a premonition. I don't know. Marcus wiped sweat from his face. We were somewhere ancient. Before Egypt. There was a stone temple, and we were standing before something, that wasn't entirely human. And we made a choice. A terrible choice. What choice? I can't remember. But I think, Marcus looked at her, fear in his eyes. I think we did this to ourselves. I think we chose this. Elara pulled back. No. Why would we choose to die over and over? To be separated constantly? I don't know. But the feeling in the dream was that we'd made a bargain. An exchange. We gave up something to gain something else. Like what? The memory faded before I could see. They decided to try past life regression therapy. Elara found a professor who specialized in it, Dr. Sarah Keene, a woman in her 60s who'd written several books on consciousness and memory. She was skeptical when they first explained their situation, but after hearing their documented evidence and testing them separately with identical results, she agreed to help. The regression sessions were intense. Under hypnosis, Marcus and Elara both described the same ancient temple, a massive structure carved into a mountainside in a land that no longer existed. They spoke of a being they called the Keeper, who offered them a choice after their first death together. The Keeper showed us two paths, Marcus said during one session, his voice distant and strange. In one path, we would have that single lifetime together. We would grow old and die peacefully in each other's arms. But when death came, it would be final. Our souls would dissipate into nothing. We would cease to exist. Dr. Keene leaned forward. And the other path? We would be bound together forever. Our souls would be anchored to each other across time and space. We would be reborn again and again, always finding each other, always remembering. But there was a price. Marcus's face twisted in anguish. The price was that we could never have peace. Love would always end in tragedy. We would suffer in exchange for eternity. And you chose the second path, Dr. Keene said softly. We chose each other, Marcus whispered. We always choose each other. When they brought Elara under, she confirmed everything Marcus had said, adding more details about the ancient civilization they'd lived in, a culture so advanced it had discovered the secrets of the soul and consciousness. The Keeper had been one of their kind, someone who'd learned to transcend death entirely but at the cost of becoming something inhuman. The Keeper was once like us, Elara said in trance. Someone who loved so deeply they couldn't bear the thought of separation. But the magic they used to bind their soul to their lovers was imperfect. It created a loop, a cycle of suffering. The Keeper became trapped, watching their love die and return and die again, unable to break free. Eventually, the Keeper's lover went mad from the pain and found a way to break the bond, destroying their own soul completely. So the Keeper was alone, Dr. Keene said. Not alone. The Keeper was in agony. An eternity of isolation after knowing that kind of love. And the Keeper offered others the same choice, perhaps hoping someone would succeed where they failed. Or perhaps just spreading the misery. Elara's breathing became ragged. We were young and stupid and so in love we thought we could beat it. We thought our love was special. Wasn't it? Dr. Keene asked. Elara started crying, still under hypnosis. Every love is special. That's what we didn't understand. The intensity of first love, the certainty that nothing else matters, it's a lie. Love is supposed to be gentle sometimes. It's supposed to grow and change and yes, eventually end when death comes naturally. But we wanted it perfect and eternal and we damned ourselves. When they woke from the regression, Elara and Marcus held each other and cried. Make sure to smash that like button if this story is giving you chills, because we're only halfway through and the truth gets even darker. So how do we break it? Marcus asked Dr. Keene after they'd recovered. The professor looked at them sadly. I don't know if you can. If this is real, and I'm still not entirely convinced it is, despite everything you've shown me, then you're dealing with something beyond psychology or science. This is metaphysical. Spiritual. There has to be a way, Elara insisted. Every curse has a counter-curse. Every bargain has an escape clause. Perhaps, Dr. Keene said. But consider this, what if the tragedy isn't a punishment? What if it's a feature, not a bug? What do you mean? You said you wanted eternal love. But love that never ends, that never changes or grows or faces any challenge, that's not love. That's stagnation. Maybe the tragedy is what keeps the love fresh. Maybe dying and being separated is what makes each reunion so powerful. Marcus shook his head violently. No. I refuse to believe we're supposed to suffer forever just to keep things interesting. Then find the keeper, Dr. Keene said. If this being still exists, they're the one who made the bargain. They're the only one who can unmake it. That night, Marcus and Elara lay in bed, not sleeping. They'd been together for 2 months now. Every day felt borrowed, stolen from fate. Do you ever wish we'd never met? Elara asked quietly. In this lifetime, I mean. We could have lived normal lives. Found other people. Been happy without all this weight. Never, Marcus said fiercely. Every lifetime we've had together, no matter how short, has been worth it. You're worth it. Even if we die next week? Even then. She rolled over to face him. I love you, Marcus. I've loved you for 3,000 years. And I'm tired. I'm so tired of being strong and fighting and losing you. Then let's stop fighting, Marcus said. Not stop trying to break the curse. But stop acting like we're doomed. We have right now. Let's make right now count. They got married 3 days later at City Hall with Dr. Keene and Marcus's roommate as witnesses. It felt right and also insane. They'd known each other for 2 months but also forever. On their wedding night, Elara had another vision. I saw where the keeper is, she gasped, sitting up in bed. Or where the temple is. Was. Could be. Where? Turkey. There's an archaeological site that's been recently excavated. Göbekli Tepe. It's one of the oldest temple complexes in the world, dated to around 9,500 BCE. In my vision, I saw the same stone pillars, the same carvings. That's where we made the bargain. Marcus was already on his laptop. Okay. Okay. We can do this. We apply for a research grant through your archaeology program. We go there. We find answers. It's been 11,000 years, Marcus. Even if the temple is the right place, the keeper is probably long dead. Or they're still there, Marcus said. You said they transcended death. Maybe they're waiting. Maybe they've been waiting for us to come back and break the cycle. It took 4 months to arrange everything. 4 months of bureaucracy and grant applications and academic red tape. 4 months where every day Marcus woke up terrified that today would be the day the pattern repeated and something would tear them apart. But nothing happened. They lived. They went to classes, studied, made love, fought about stupid things like whose turn it was to do dishes. They had normal moments and extraordinary ones. If you're wondering whether they'll actually make it to Turkey, drop a comment with your prediction right now. The next part is going to blow your mind. They landed in Istanbul on a bright June morning. From there, they took a bus to Şanlıurfa, and then arranged transport to the archaeological site. Dr. Keene had connected them with a Turkish archaeologist named Dr. Mehmet Özkan who was leading the excavation. This place is remarkable, Dr. Özkan told them as they walked through the site. We don't know who built it or why. The level of sophistication required to create these structures predates agriculture, predates civilization as we know it. Whoever they were, they had knowledge we're still trying to understand. The stone pillars rose around them, covered in carvings of animals and strange symbols. Marcus felt recognition pulse through him. This was the place. He knew it in his bones. Are there any restricted areas? Elara asked. Places you haven't excavated yet? Several. We work slowly to preserve everything. Why? We're looking for something specific. A chamber, maybe. Somewhere important. Dr. Oskin studied them carefully. Dr. Keene said you were researching ancient religious practices. She didn't mention you were looking for something concrete. It's hard to explain, Marcus said. Then don't explain. Show me. Dr. Oskin pulled out a map of the site. Point to where you think this chamber is. Marcus and Elara looked at the map, then at each other. They both pointed to the same spot simultaneously, an area marked as unstable and unexplored on the eastern edge of the complex. Dr. Oskin's eyes widened. How did you? That's impossible. We only discovered that section last week. The ground-penetrating radar showed a large hollow space there, but we haven't had time to excavate safely. We need to go there, Elara said urgently. Please. Something in her voice must have convinced him. Dr. Oskin arranged for them to access the area the next morning with a small team and proper equipment. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept having flashes of memory, standing before the keeper, feeling the weight of the choice they were about to make. Elara's hand in his, both of them so young and certain they knew what forever meant. Are you awake? Elara whispered. Yeah. I'm scared. Me too. What if we break the curse and we discover we only love each other because of it? What if without the magic binding us together, we're just strangers? Marcus pulled her close. Then we'll get to fall in love all over again. As our real selves, without any destiny or fate involved. Just Marcus and Elara, choosing each other because we want to, not because we have to. I'd like that, she said softly. The excavation began at dawn. Dr. Oskin's team carefully cleared away layers of earth and stone, revealing a narrow passageway leading down into darkness. The opening was just wide enough for one person at a time. This is incredibly dangerous, Dr. Oskin warned. The structure could collapse. We should document it and come back with more support. We don't have time, Marcus said, though he couldn't explain why he knew that. He just did. The pattern was reasserting itself. They were running out of time. He and Elara descended into the earth, their headlamps cutting through the darkness. The passage opened into a large chamber, and when they swept their lights around, both of them gasped. The walls were covered in writing. Not just one language but dozens, layered over each other like a palimpsest. Marcus recognized ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, cuneiform, Latin, Chinese characters, Arabic script, every language they'd ever spoken in every lifetime, all carved into the stone. We've been here before, Elara breathed. Every time. We keep coming back, trying to break the curse. In the center of the chamber stood a stone altar, and on it lay two objects, an ancient bronze dagger and a clay tablet covered in writing so old it predated any known alphabet. Marcus approached the altar carefully. The moment his fingers touched the tablet, knowledge flooded into his mind, not a memory but an understanding, deep and terrible. I know how to break the curse, he said. How? Marcus looked at her, his face stricken. One of us has to die. Permanently. We have to sever the soul bond completely by having one soul destroyed while the other lives. The survivor will lose all memories of every lifetime, become fully mortal, and live out a natural life alone. The one who dies will cease to exist entirely. No afterlife, no reincarnation, just nothing. Elara staggered back. No. There has to be another way. There isn't. The Keeper designed it this way. The only escape is obliteration. They stared at the dagger between them. It seemed to pulse with dark energy. We don't have to do this, Elara said. We can walk away. Live whatever time we have left. Maybe decades this time. Maybe. 7 days, Marcus interrupted, his voice hollow. I just remembered. The pattern allows us exactly 7 days once we reach this chamber. If we don't break the curse within that time, we both die, and the cycle starts again. We've been here 18 times before. This is our 19th attempt. How do you know that? It's in the tablet. It's counting. Every time we've come here, tried to break free, and failed. We always fail because neither of us can bear to let the other die forever. So we walk away, die together within the week, and get reborn to try again. Elara was crying. I can't do it. I can't kill you. I can't let you kill me. I know. Marcus set the tablet down gently. That's why we always fail. Because love means neither of us can make that choice. They climbed back up to the surface in silence. Dr. Oskin immediately noticed something was wrong but didn't push. They returned to their hotel and lay in bed, holding each other. You need to hit that subscribe button right now because what happens next will change everything you think you know about love and sacrifice. What if we both refuse? Elara asked. What if we just accept the cycle? Eventually, something will change. The universe will end, the magic will fade, something. The tablet said the curse feeds on our suffering. Each cycle makes it stronger. If we keep going, eventually we won't just reincarnate. Our souls will start fragmenting, becoming damaged. In a few more cycles, we won't be us anymore. We'll be twisted reflections, still bound together but no longer capable of love. Just eternal suffering without even the good parts. So our choices are obliteration or damnation. Or one of us sacrifices everything so the other can be free. They didn't sleep. They talked through the night, going over every option, every possibility. But every path led back to the same conclusion: someone had to die. On the second day, they went back to the chamber. This time, they read every inscription on the walls. They were messages from their past selves, warnings, regrets, declarations of love, apologies for failing again. One message in Latin made Marcus stop cold: to my love in the next life, forgive me for being too cowardly to save you. Perhaps next time I'll be strong enough. I wrote that, he whispered. In Rome. After we died in the arena. When we were reborn in medieval France, I remembered just enough to come here. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't end your existence. Elara traced her fingers over another carving. And I wrote this one. I choose suffering with you over peace without you. Victorian era. I was so certain we could find another way. They spent 3 more days in that chamber, searching desperately for a loophole, a hidden escape clause, anything. But the magic was absolute. The keeper had made the curse unbreakable except through the ultimate sacrifice. On the 6th day, they sat on the floor of the chamber and made a plan. We flip a coin, Marcus said. Completely random. No choice, no guilt. Fate decides. I hate that plan, Elara said. Do you have a better one? She didn't. They spent their last day together above ground, pretending everything was normal. They had breakfast at a small cafe, walked through the town market, bought silly souvenirs they'd never take home. They made love in their hotel room like it was the first time and the last time, because it was both. That evening, they returned to the chamber. Marcus pulled out a coin. If it lands on heads, I use the dagger on myself. Tails, you do. Wait, Elara said. We need to talk about what happens after. Whoever survives, they'll forget everything. All of this will seem like a strange dream. But Dr. Keene has our research. She has recordings of our regression sessions. If the survivor ever comes to her, she'll have proof. What's the point? If I forget you completely, knowing we once loved each other won't help. It'll just be torture. Maybe. Or maybe you'll feel a ghost of something and it'll drive you to research this. Maybe you'll come back here. Maybe you'll find this chamber and the messages on the walls. Elara pulled out a marker from her bag. Let me leave you something. Just in case. She wrote on the wall in English, Marcus, you loved someone so much you let her go. She loved you enough to let you live. Be happy. That's all we ever wanted for each other. Marcus wrote his own message, Elara, you are the bravest person I've ever known. In every lifetime, in every moment, you chose love. I chose you. Whatever happens, that was enough. They stood together in the center of the chamber. Marcus held up the coin. Wait, Elara said, grabbing his hand. I need to say something. If it's me who survives, if I forget you completely and live a normal life, I'm going to fall in love again. Maybe marry someone else. Have kids. Be happy. Good, Marcus said fiercely. That's what I want. That's the whole point. But that's not the whole point. The point is that even if I forget every lifetime, even if your name means nothing to me and your face is a stranger's, somewhere in my soul I'll know I was loved. Perfectly, completely, eternally. And that will make me brave enough to love again. That's your gift to me. Marcus kissed her, tasting salt from both their tears. And if I'm the one who survives and forgets you, I'll live. I'll find joy. I'll make meaning. Because that's what you'd want. Because you loved me enough to set me free. He flipped the coin. It spun through the air, catching the light from their headlamps. Time seemed to slow. Marcus thought about every lifetime, every moment they'd shared. The brief perfect times and the long agonizing deaths. The centuries of searching for each other in dreams. The beautiful, terrible choice they'd made so long ago because they couldn't bear to be parted. And now one of them would be parted forever. The coin landed. Heads. Marcus picked up the dagger. His hand was steady. He'd made this choice 11,000 years ago, to choose love no matter the cost. This was just the payment finally coming due. I love you, he said to Elara. I have always loved you. I will always have loved you. Marcus, wait. He drove the blade into his own heart. The pain was extraordinary and brief. Marcus felt his soul beginning to tear, the bonds that had held him and Elara together for millennia starting to shred. He looked at her face one last time, memorizing every detail, knowing that in moments he would cease to exist. No heaven, no reincarnation, just ending. But as his consciousness began to fade, Marcus felt something strange. The curse was breaking, yes, but it was breaking wrong. The magic was fighting back, trying to preserve itself, trying to take Elara with him into oblivion. No, Marcus gasped. Not her. The deal was 1 for 1. Take me. Leave her. The keeper appeared. Not physically, but as a presence ancient and vast and infinitely sad. Marcus felt the weight of its grief, its eternal isolation, its desperate attempt to create others who would understand what it was to love across time itself. Please, Marcus begged. Let her go. I'm dying. The curse is broken. Let her be free. The keeper hesitated. In that moment, Marcus understood, the keeper had been waiting for this. Not for someone to break the curse, but for someone to willingly sacrifice everything out of love. That was the real escape clause. Not death, but selfless choice. The magic released its hold on Elara. Marcus felt himself dissolving, his soul fragmenting into nothing. His last thought was gratitude, that she would live, that she would be free, that his death meant something. Then darkness. Elara screamed as Marcus's body collapsed. She caught him, but he was already gone. The dagger clattered to the floor. The chamber began to shake, the ancient magic finally breaking apart after 11,000 years. She ran, dragging Marcus's body with her, tears streaming down her face. Dr. Oskin and his team were waiting at the entrance and helped pull them both to safety just as the chamber collapsed behind them. What happened? Dr. Oskin shouted over the rumbling earth. He saved me, Elara sobbed. He saved me and now he's gone. But even as she said it, she felt the bonds breaking in her own soul. The memories starting to fade. Not immediately, but slowly, like a photograph left in sunlight. She fumbled for her phone, hands shaking, and started recording. My name is Elara. I loved someone named Marcus across dozens of lifetimes. He just died to break a curse and set me free. I'm going to forget him. I'm going to forget all of this. But I need to remember that once, I was loved perfectly. Once, someone thought I was worth dying for. Once. The memory faded mid-sentence. Elara stopped recording, confused about why her phone was out. There was a dead man at her feet and she was crying, but she didn't know why. The Turkish archaeologist was asking her questions, but his words didn't make sense. I think I hit my head, she said. I don't remember coming down here. 6 months later, Elara was back at university, finishing her degree. She'd taken a medical leave after the accident in Turkey, that's what everyone called it. An accident. A young man named Marcus had died in a cave collapse at the archaeological site. She'd been there but somehow survived. The trauma had caused some memory loss. She couldn't remember much about the excavation or why she'd been so obsessed with that particular site. But sometimes she had dreams. Dreams of a man with kind eyes who held her like she was everything. Dreams of different lives, different deaths, always together. She mentioned it to her therapist, who suggested she might be processing the trauma of watching someone die. That made sense. But it didn't explain why she'd started researching reincarnation and soul bonds. Why she'd tracked down Dr. Sarah Keene and asked about past life regression. Why she felt this constant ache, like she'd lost something precious but couldn't remember what. Dr. Keene had listened to her story and then played her a video. In it, Elara and a man named Marcus explained their curse, their love across lifetimes, their plan to break the cycle. This is you 6 months ago, Dr. Keene said gently. Before Turkey. Before you forgot. Elara watched the video 3 times, feeling nothing but confusion. The woman on screen looked like her but seemed like a stranger. And the man, Marcus, he meant nothing. She felt sympathy for what he'd gone through, but no recognition. I don't remember any of this, she told Dr. Keene. I know. That was the price. But you should know, he loved you enough to die for you. And you loved him enough to let him. Elara went home that night and cried for reasons she couldn't explain. She looked at the research she'd accumulated, the journals full of notes she didn't remember writing, the sketches of places she'd never been. And slowly, carefully, she closed all the journals and put them away. If Marcus had died to set her free, then she owed it to him to actually be free. Not to spend her life chasing ghosts of a love she couldn't remember. He'd wanted her to live, to be happy, to find new love. So she did. 3 years later, Elara met someone. His name was David, and he was kind and funny, and he loved her completely. They got married, had 2 children, built a beautiful normal life. Sometimes she still had the dreams, still felt the ache, but it faded over time. She was happy. She had been loved perfectly once, even if she couldn't remember it. And that love had made her brave enough to love again. That's how love works, she thought. It transforms us. It leaves marks on our souls even when the memories fade. Marcus had given her that gift. And somewhere, in whatever void claimed destroyed souls, maybe he knew. Maybe he was at peace. If you made it this far, drop a like and subscribe because you just witnessed one of the most heartbreaking love stories ever told. But wait, don't click away yet. Because this isn't quite over. 25 years after Marcus died, Elara sat in her garden watching her grandchildren play. She was 73 years old, her hair silver, her face lined with laugh wrinkles. She'd had a good life. A full life. Her husband David had died 2 years earlier, cancer, peaceful, surrounded by family. She missed him every day. But she was okay. She had her children, her grandchildren, her memories. That night, she had the dream again. The man with kind eyes, holding her close, whispering that he loved her across lifetimes. She woke with tears on her face. And for the first time in decades, she remembered his name. Marcus, she whispered into the darkness. The memories flooded back, not all of them, but enough. Egypt, Rome, medieval France, Victorian London, every lifetime. And Turkey. The chamber. The dagger. His sacrifice. Elara gasped, clutching her chest. How was this possible? The curse was broken. She wasn't supposed to remember. But as the memories settled, she understood. The curse breaking hadn't erased the past. It had just locked it away, giving her the chance to live freely. Now, at the end of her natural life, the locks were opening. She was being allowed to remember who she'd been, what she'd sacrificed, what had been sacrificed for her. She got out of bed and went to her study, pulling out boxes she hadn't opened in decades. The journals. The research. The recordings. She watched herself on the old video explaining the curse. She saw Marcus alive and vibrant, loving her with such intensity it hurt to witness. I lived, she told his image on the screen. I lived, Marcus. I was happy. I loved again. I had children and grandchildren. I made the most of the life you gave me. She hoped somehow he could hear her. Hoped that destroyed souls still had some awareness, some way of knowing their sacrifice had meant something. That night, Elara died peacefully in her sleep. Her children found her in the morning, a smile on her face, an old video paused on her computer screen showing a young man they'd never met. At her funeral, her daughter mentioned that Elara had left strange instructions. She wanted to be cremated, and her ashes scattered at an archaeological site in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. I don't know why, her daughter said. She only went there once, 50 years ago. But she was very specific. They honored her wishes. When her ashes touched the ancient stone, something shifted in the fabric of reality. The keeper, who had been bound to that place for 11,000 years, finally felt release. Marcus's sacrifice hadn't just freed Elara, it had broken the keeper's own curse. The keeper had been waiting for someone to choose love over eternity, to prove that real love meant letting go. Marcus had done that. And in doing so, he'd freed not just Elara, but every soul the keeper had ever bound. In the void where destroyed souls went, Marcus suddenly felt warmth. Not life, not consciousness, but something like peace. And a sense that somewhere, somehow, Elara was okay. That was enough. That had always been enough. But here's where it gets truly strange. 3 years after Elara died, in a small hospital in Tokyo, 2 babies were born on the same day to different families. A boy and a girl. The boy had a distinctive birthmark on his left shoulder blade. The girl had one on her right wrist. The same birthmarks Marcus and Elara had carried through multiple lifetimes. And on the day they turned 23, they would meet at a coffee shop near the university where they were both studying. They would look at each other and feel instant recognition, though they wouldn't understand why. Because the curse was broken, yes. But the love? Love doesn't need magic to be eternal. Love finds a way. And maybe, just maybe, some souls are meant to keep finding each other, not because they're cursed, but because they choose to. Again and again and again. Not in tragedy this time. Enjoy. If this story destroyed you emotionally, you absolutely need to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and drop a comment telling me what you thought. Did Marcus make the right choice? Could they have found another way? And most importantly, do you believe in love that transcends lifetimes? The answer might be closer than you think. Because somewhere in the world right now, 2 23-year-olds are about to meet for the first time. And everything is about to change. Again.